COVID-19 pandemic continues to rattle the world economy. Various governments have continued to look inwards to explore sustainable alternatives that's going to help rejig their economies and cushion the impact of the pandemic. In Nigeria, one of the major considerations has been how to bolster agricultural output as a way to block off food scarcity, job losses, and poverty. Owing to this, the federal government recently kicked off a 4-year post-COVID-19 agricultural policy strategy aimed at improving modernization and building resilience in the agricultural sector. This comes just days after the government unveiled a 10-year, $1.2 billion program known as the Green Imperative, which is targeted at creating 5 million jobs. Joining me to discuss more on some of these issues is agricultural policy expert and consultant, Mr. Adayi Unogwu. Good morning to you, sir. I'll start by asking, in what way has COVID-19 been a major stressor to Nigeria's agricultural sector, and how best can we navigate this?
Okay, thanks for having me. I think the agricultural sector has been one of the worst hit sector by the COVID-19. And how is this? It has actually pushed Nigeria closer to a food crisis situation. A lot of the farmers that did the dry season farming, for example, maize, of 2019-2020 dry season farming, were unable to go to the farm to harvest. So they lost a lot. We're talking about millions of farmers here and millions of tons of what we would have harvested. At the same time, you look at the issue of tomatoes in Jos. They were rotting away, no labor, no market because they can't move them. We also look at the high input, the high cost of input. For example, fertilizer rose from about 6,000 naira to about 10 to 15,000 naira. That is when you even find them. It has impacted the agricultural sector very, very heavily because agriculture is actually time-bound. And if you look at the fact that the onset of the rains came and farmers could not go to the farm from the middle belt to the southwest and the south-south, so it simply means that we've lost out on time. Agriculture is not like construction that you come anytime you continue. It's time-bound. So we've lost some grounds as far as the onset of rain is concerned.
All right, thank you for that.
And how can we leverage on this?
Go ahead, yes. How can we leverage on this?
Okay, how can we leverage on this and what do we need to do? The government needs to realize that there is a shift from the product and service economy to a global economy, to a digital economy. So we need to invest in leveraging digitalization and also decentralization of the procurement of agri-enhancement inputs from the center to the rural area. Taking, for example, the GS example. We should stop giving contracts for inputs at the center. We should stop it. We should decentralize and bring it closer to the people so that when we have such crises, we don't have to start running helter-skelter.
Okay, thank you for that. So what do you think, I mean, looking beyond COVID-19, what do you think should be the priority areas to look into as far as improving inputs and outputs for the sector?
First and foremost, is very key. The government must stop the rhetorics. Those in power should stop the rhetorics and think of more practical solutions. And what do I mean by this? We must, as a recommendation, I think the government should set up a special task force within the EFCC to battle agri-corruption, because a lot of the interventions do not end up in the hands of the real farmers, the common farmers. It ends up in people's pockets. So that is one of it. Secondly, the government needs to work on infrastructure in such a way that our inputs can actually reach out, our products can actually reach out. And also investing in ICT, in agricultural ICT, to be able to relate directly with the farmers and improve on productivity. A couple of factors of course, will play good on this, as long as we have the political will and we are serious to bring the right-minded people into the sector.
Okay, fantastic. You've mentioned being, realistic and practical. I want to reel off some government intervention priorities in the sector. They include knowledge creation and transfer to and rural access to mechanization, comprehensive extension services, value addition, market development, protection of the production processes through effective pest and disease control for crops and livestock, sustainable funding, synergy and ministries, departments, agencies, alignment, among others. Which of these that I've listed do you consider to be, most realistic in achieving, considering, our extant realities?
Okay. in my view, I'll tell you, every single one of them is realistically, we can achieve them realistically, provided that we have the political will to do this.
And political...
And in terms of...
Please continue. I thought you had paused. Please continue. Yes, go ahead.
You know, as long as we have the political will and we are ready, and we really see the effect, if we take into cognizance the effect of COVID-19, I think knowing that we're going into the food crisis, if the government is serious, we can really focus, put the political will in place, and get us really on board. Every single thing that is listed there is achievable, as long as we are serious about them.
Okay, what about the government's...
And in terms of the...
Go right ahead, sir. Go right ahead, please. In terms of what you finish, go ahead.
Okay, and in terms of what I think are imperatives, I won't just stay on one of them, but I think it's a combination. For example, comprehensive extension service is key. Extension service is one of the key factors in agricultural development anywhere in the world. And then, of course, access to funding, real access to funding to the real farmers. I'm not talking about the political farmers. And that is why I mentioned earlier, the government need to set up a special task force in the EFCC to look at agricultural intervention across board. And I think finally, of course, the synergy between government agencies, programs, and the various projects for agricultural productivity is very key. We need to have that synergy so that we don't have duplication and waste of resources.
Thank you, sir. Now, what about your take on the federal government's recent 10-year agricultural intervention program known as the Green Imperative? How realistic and achievable do you see that initiative?
Well, the Green Imperative, it's a wonderful document on paper, beautiful, well conceived. But I must quickly tell you here that Nigeria is not in any way in short or lack of beautiful policies on papers. Implementation is the key. So if you look at the Green Imperative, it comes with a lot of developmental milestones. For example, establishing the mechanization service centers across the 774 local governments across the country is laudable, creating jobs and all of that. So if the government is serious, I think this is an opportunity to write their name on gold as far as Nigeria is concerned in terms of agricultural development. That is, if they really want to achieve this. However, I must also throw a word of caution here, that I hope that future generations will not look back and exclaim, oh, what a beautiful nonsense. It's beautiful. We can achieve it. And this is the time for the government to stay focused and make sure that individualism is ruled out and the national interest is taken at heart. But in all, I must tell you, it's a beautiful policy.
All right. Thank you for that. And also, what's your assessment on what would be the global new normal in agricultural economics? How do you see that playing out?
Excellent. The global new normal. It's important to note that the world will never remain the same as pre-COVID-19. All right? And the earlier we come to terms with this, the better for us. And so the global new normal in agricultural economics simply tells us, from my own perspective, is that government needs to look inwards, invest more locally, invest on infrastructure, invest on the digital economy as far as it concerns agriculture, invest to boost productivity in order to increase our export values rather than having for us to consume what we do not produce.
Mr. Adayi Unogwu, agricultural consultant, thank you so much for taking us through how the agricultural sector can, manage COVID-19 and beyond. We appreciate your time.